Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Speakeasy with Sarah. And if you are watching on YouTube, as you can see, Amu looks a little bit different today. He is not the guest. I know he had said he's a resident guest, but we are ditching him for my beautiful sister, Sana Huda, who is going to be the guest of today's episode. Sana, welcome to Speakeasy with Sarah.
Thank you so much. I feel honored to be here, especially because when you told me you took a poll and people actually responded saying that they would love to have me, I was a little surprised. Honored, yes.
Well, because you're a special gal.
Thank you so much.
And you're known by anyone and everyone here in Atlanta, Georgia. But speaking of, today's episode is going to be all about just literally picking up and moving to a whole new place, which is exactly what Sana did. So I'm sure a lot of you know Sana personally or know of her at least. And if you don't, what the heck? Like, rude. And that's because she's lived in Atlanta for how many years?
30 years.
30 years. She lived in Atlanta for 30 years, and she is now a Dallas, Texas resident, right?
Officially, yeah. Got my license made and everything as of last Thursday. So I guess it's done did.
Yes, it's official now. You can't go back.
Yeah.
So we are going to jump right in. We have some juicy topics to talk about today. I want to ask her some questions, put her on the spot. Y'all know we like to keep it unfiltered on Speakeasy, and I haven't prepped Sana at all, actually, right?
Yeah, I'm super nervous.
She really came into this blind.
I was not expecting this, but here we are.
Here we are. And if you hear the dogs in the back, they're going a little bit crazy. Okay. That was Amu screaming, "Hurry, I'm hungry." We're waiting on our Uber Eats, but sorry about that. We got interrupted by the dogs, but Amu was so kind to make us some fresh, hot coffee. Cheers to an episode.
I can't really sip right now. It's piping hot.
Yeah, it's piping hot. Okay, so we are going to jump right in. Like I said, I haven't prepared Sana at all. And if you didn't know, I call my sister Appa and Api. So Sana is Appa, and my other sister Sonia is Api. And we have a 10-year age gap.
Not that you can tell. She's 10 years older than me, but, I'm still the wiser one.
Okay, like whatever. Fine. We'll go with that since you're the honorable guest for today's episode. So let's get right into it. I want to start off by saying you have lived pretty much your entire life so far in Atlanta, and you have decided to pick up and just move to a whole other city. So tell me about, I'm just going to shoot it straight. Why did you decide to move?
Yeah. And that was a question I got asked a lot. That was a question that was thrown at basically to all my family members. It was as if like people, if they weren't satisfied with somebody else's answers or my response, they would like circle back and ask somebody else to see if they would get a different response.
Yeah.
Because I guess it is a shock, right? Most people pick up and move for various reasons, right? Like if there's a job situation or, a marriage situation or
A relationship,
etc., right? So everyone just sort of assumes that one of these criterias would check my box. But, thankfully, Shukr, like there was no impeding need, so to speak, for me to just get up and pick up life. But there was just something internally that was telling me that you've got to take this move, you've got to have this leap of faith. And I would say like a few years back, and I haven't really shared this with anyone, maybe like one person or so, but there's been three specific instances in my life where, when you say like, oh, listen to the voice inside, listen to the voice within. And I would say out of the three times, one time was one I didn't really listen to the voice. And the other two times, I think I reached a place where I realized that there is something guiding me towards, something in particular. And this move being one. While I had everything here, friends, family support, no reason to pick up and move for work, there was just something that felt incomplete and something that would just keep me uneasy. And I think of late, I had been traveling to Texas a lot more, whether it was for clients or whether it was for, visiting friends, family, Jamati work. I found a lot of trips happening there. And Dallas was previously home, right? When we first came to the US.
Yeah.
And it had changed greatly since we'd been living there. And every time I went, I liked what I saw. And I think more and more after doing research and thinking about things, it kind of made sense to go back and revisit Dallas. And then when I actually did decide that, yes, Dallas would be the city that I wanted to pick up and move, the way the processes of things happening just happened so easily, naturally, that it just
felt right.
It just felt right. The decision became more and more right in my mind.
Yeah. So I want to also give our listeners and our watchers some context about your personal life.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, so Senna is divorced, and she is also, raising Arya on her own in Dallas. So I want to know, and a lot of listeners wanted to know, how hard was it, if it was, to not only be a divorced woman, because we can be honest, there is a stigma behind that, right? Especially in the South Asian community, although it is becoming more common, divorce in general, there is still a stigma behind it. But on top of that, you're raising your daughter, right? So was it hard? Was it tough to make this decision kind of not only for yourself, but for her mom, because she does also live with Sana in Dallas, so she also moved with her, but also for Arya?
Yeah.
You sort of made that decision for all three of you, in a sense. Yeah. How hard was that? Did you struggle with that?
Yeah, very much so. And as any parent can tell you, we never feel like we're adequate enough. We never feel like we're doing enough. We never feel like, we're giving enough. And any and every decision you make for your child, it does keep you up at night, to be, quite honest. And especially something like a move, right? I think growing up, all of us are probably used to having changed schools a lot, moving around a lot, just because of our families, in transition, migrating, etc., until they found the place where they felt comfortable. I think we went through a lot of shifts. So I think one of the biggest thing of parents of our generation is that they want to offer that stability to the child, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Because we lacked it.
Yeah, we didn't get that.
We didn't get a home base,
we didn't,
if you will.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing for me as well, is I wanted Arya to always be in a stable environment. And granted, she's been with me, since she was 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So I've been solo for her for 10 years. So that was sort of the stability, right? She had her family unit here. So the first thing I did was, if I had decided on Dallas, I immediately looked at the schools, right? And I looked at the private school systems, because she went to private school here. I wanted to sort of keep the basis same. And I narrowed the list down to a few school options. And I decided that if she was going to...
I'm repping her school right now.
I had decided that if she was going to, have this move with me, it would be all based on the fact that if she got accepted into the first place of our choice, that would determine whether or not we were moving. We started the process and the applications and the testing and all of that. And in March, I remember we were doing our IPN event, which I was already stressed out for. And we got the email saying that she had in fact been accepted. And it's just been a whirlwind since then, because it's sort of like legitimized
Another
the fact
sign.
that that we were actually moving, and I had left it completely up to fate. And it was like, okay, well, now here's your sign. She's gotten in. It's March. School starts in August. Like, here we go.
And it just solidified your decision even more.
It solidified my decision, because I had literally put it out to God that if we are meant to, move,
show me
this will guide us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why, people were like, oh my God, you kept everything hush hush. And no, honestly, we found out in March, and we had to pick up and figure things out and move by the end of summer, so that way she could start school
exactly
come fall. So yeah, I think during this process also I've been very appreciative of Arya's dad. He was very supportive in the process. And going back to the divorce question, we were divorced 10 years ago. And even back then, it was a stigma, right? Especially for someone like us who've known each other for so long. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to realize that it's not a cause and an effect, or, one person at fault, etc. Mm-hmm. I think you have to understand that sometimes people just fall apart or get to a different stage in life where things just don't feel right anymore.
Yeah. That kind of goes back to our first episode where Amin and I were talking about how, especially we were talking about young marriage and how sometimes, a lot of the times, marriages don't work out when you get married at a younger age, even though you've known each other since you were kids. A lot of the times you grow up and you grow apart. Absolutely. So true. I think that's what you're trying to say. That's what it comes back down to.
Yeah. And it's like you're still finding yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult at that point to find an us when you're still discovering and developing who you are. Though it might be hurtful or upsetting, or even, fearful of the unknown, right? Like what's going to happen when there's not an us.
Right. Starting over without this person.
Exactly.
It's almost like a loss of a person.
It is. It really is. It's a loss of a person. It's also a loss of you, right? Because it's a huge you part identify of you as an us, right?
And we should be very thankful that you guys are able to co-parent so wonderfully, and that he's so supportive of all of your decisions and whatever makes you happy, not just Arya, but whatever makes you happy as well. My next question, I actually got this question off of Instagram. People wanted to know, how, not only how it was, was it intimidating moving to a whole new city? I know we have a lot of family in Dallas, and if you didn't know, we used to visit Dallas every month when we were younger, right? Because we have so many cousins. So it's not like a very unfamiliar territory to you. So I guess that definitely made it easier, and you have your people there. But how do you make new friends in a new city as an adult?
Yeah, very difficult question, right?
You're a social butterfly, so it's easier. But people who are intimidated or a little bit more closed off, they have trouble putting themselves out there. How would you advise for them to go about meeting new people, making new friends?
Yeah. So obviously it's easier when you've got a unit that you already know, right? So throwing it out there, super, super, super appreciative of all of my family in Dallas, of all of my great friends.
Shout out to the Hooda-Viranis.
Yes, everyone. You know who you are. You've been a great support system for me, for all of us, coming in. So thank you so much. I think one of the wonderful things that if you're affiliated with a religious community, so being in a Smiley, particularly, I can say this, it's so nice that you already have like a community and a supportive network that you can sort of just tap into and be like, hey, help, please,
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate in that aspect, especially as we're older, right? We don't have high school that we can start off with, or a college, where you can form friendships.
Exactly.
You're sort of like set in your ways and things like that. But I think one of the things also with this move process is to sort of like put yourself out there. It's very difficult to say, but it's a conversation to have with yourself, right? So the type of energy that you exert is the type of energy you'll attract, right? So I always feel like if my vibe is very like drained and gloomy and
Negative.
low and
Negative Nancy's, you're going to attract a negative
you will
Nancy.
attract those kind of people in your circle. And that's not to say that I'm always perky and upbeat or whatnot. No. We all go through stages in our life where we do see our personality and our basic aura shift, right? So I think it's very important to keep that positive outlook. So moving, you asked if there was any hesitation, nervousness, whatever. Yes, 120%, right? Even after the move, signing a lease, finding a place which you think is perfect. There's so many reservations. There's so many, you're your worst enemy, right? So like in your head, you have all these thoughts like, oh my God, this, that.
And you were, I think even after the move for a few days, like especially the first month or so was difficult for you. It was difficult for Mama. I feel like Arya really found her way. Like she's comfortable anywhere. She's love her. She's so positive, and I think she gets that from you. But you were having moments of doubt.
100%. And you always even question, like, is my child putting on a front just to please me, right? So I kind of had to get other people to, like, affirm, like, okay, is she being genuine? Is she being legitimate?
And she's so selfless that she would do that.
She would.
She's a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And again, she gets that from you. So you definitely were having your doubts, but 100%. I think that's normal.
And I think at that point is when other people around me were like, hey, you were the one that said, if God wants this, then X, Y, and Z will happen. And now that X, Y, and Z has happened, trust the process.
Yes.
And so those moments of doubts are when I would go back, trust the process, and then find my energy again.
Remind yourself that
myself.
All of this was for the right reasons.
Yeah. Some of the things that I think people who are considering moving can do is, look into your hobbies. If you are a runner, find a group of social, individuals who enjoy running. If you are an avid reader, go to the local bookstores and join a book club. Absolutely. And then there's so many community service events happening all around, right? So I think it's a blessing that we have such great resources easily available to us. So had I not had those easy foundations established, those are some of the things that I would definitely look at and consider.
There's like, I think there's like an app for friends, like just platonic friends.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but it's definitely out there. It's like basically Tinder, but for friendships. So that's the thing.
Yeah. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever your interest is, find it.
Okay, so I want to move on to something a little bit, I guess you could say juicy. Something pertaining to me. So what I've noticed is ever since you did make the move to Dallas, I think that you've definitely evolved as a person. Not to say that, you were a bad person before the move. But I've seen some changes in you where, again, we touched on, like, you have a very positive outlook in life. And I just feel like your perception overall on people and different personalities and life in general is a lot more positive than when you were living here. I don't want to say you were judgy towards me, but I do feel like when you used to live here, you were a little bit judgy. Like, I know maybe it's like the motherly instinct in you because you've always kind of been like that motherly figure to me, you know, and you've always been very protective of me. You want what's best for me, all of that. And you're always going to see me as like the baby, right? No matter how old I am. Like I'm 30, right? So I get that. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I do think that you used to be a little bit judgy about my lifestyle choices, my outfit choices, my things that I would post on social media and how I chose to just live my life overall. You definitely were very opinionated. But I feel like ever since you made that move, you've been more open. You've been more accepting of me, and this is just how Sarah is. What changed?
I'm still judgy. I just don't vocalize it to you.
Okay.
So yes, I can see what you're saying. I would say that overall, this transition has been mind, body, soul, everything. You know, pertaining particularly to the mind, I feel like the more you allow negative thoughts, negative, you know, onset, everything, you know, that could be negative, the more you allow that to stay and sort of linger in the mind, the less space there is for you to be productive. So I think there's been a mind shift. There's definitely been a physical body shift. You know, I'm seeing myself at the gym a lot more, and I'm actually seeing results, you know.
And you're a lot more confident too in yourself.
100%, 100%. And I think it's almost as if like the body went through a detox,
like
cleansing. So I think everything has sort of like shifted in perspective also. But I think what I feel now is that in regards to you particularly, right? Like your life, your journey.
Yeah.
I took a path which made sense to me. You will take a path which makes sense to you. I will always advise you, look out for you. But I feel that I no longer should be forcing my opinions on you, right? If I'm a bit more conservative and you're more liberal, then that's you. That's who you are. And if later on in life, when you become a little bit more sensible, joking, and you decide that's not for you, or you decide I need to be more on the extreme end, then you do you, right? I will love you regardless. And I may still feel what I feel internally, but I feel that not everything needs to be vocalized.
Right.
So, and there are times when I'm still like,
oh yeah,
Sarah, come on.
She's
right.
There are still times, but they're getting less and less. And I feel like before you were a little bit more closed off to what I would have to say in my defense, but now you're more open to putting yourself in my shoes and understanding things from my point of view, from my perspective.
Yeah, I laugh about it and have a conversation with myself about it after you leave. Like, she's seriously gone mad. But,
seriously? You know. Okay, well, I'm glad like all the chitta is opening right now.
No. I think you've had a journey and you have also knowingly or unknowingly been discovering and rediscovering yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're always proud of you as a person.
Thank you.
And like I said, your friends, your closest friends and family members may or may not agree with your decisions, right? But they are yours to make, yours to falter on, yours to recorrect, reconfigure, whatever, right? So you do you, boo. Like, yeah.
That's what we say on Speakeasy. You do you, your life, ain't nobody paying your bills.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah. I think just that shift has made me realize, because let's be real, right? Like, even my move, I've heard so many things,
crazy.
Right?
People have come up to me and tried to like So tell me the tea. What's the tea? Why did Sana actually move? Like, who's the guy? Like, why is right? That's my question. Is it always about a guy? Like, why can't you just be a badass and pick up everything and just move to a whole new city? There could be no reason. For no reason.
Yeah, I think honestly, it was just an uneasiness,
Yeah.
and that has been lifted with this shift. That's all I needed, right? Is just to shake things up a little bit,
Yeah.
bring that little excitement in.
Sometimes you just need that change. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
for me, it was the haircut. When you
Some people do haircuts, some people pick up and move how many ever
exactly,
miles away.
you just feel when you get to a point, and I think everybody goes through that. When you get to a point in life where you just feel complacent,
Yeah.
and you feel like you're stuck, and you
Yeah.
need that change. You need to get out of your rut and your routine.
Yeah.
And that's totally normal.
And I work from home. I'm in the same space all day. So something had to change. And I think this was the change that was needed.
And I can say it was the best decision for you. I can still imagine that day. I can put myself back in that day where y'all were leaving.
Yeah.
It was so emotional. And I think I was the most emotional when it came to Aria, because Aria and I have a very close relationship. I say it all the time, like in my vlogs and in my Instagram, that she's literally a mini me. Mm-hmm. So that was very, very hard. And I don't think it hit me until the night before you were driving out. So you drove out before she's going to cry.
No, I'm not.
It was very, very difficult. And I remember, I don't know if I ever shared it with you, but I guess we're going to spill the tea, if you will, on the podcast. But I remember that whole, I would say 2 weeks after y'all left, and especially after my mom and Aria left, because like I said, Sana went like a few days before them. I felt like, oh my God, my world is just ending. Like everything felt like it was crumbling. And yes, I had Amin with me, and if I didn't have him, I don't know how I would have gotten through that. But I felt very lonely there for a while. And it's crazy because I didn't really see them as often as I wish I did when they did live here. And they say that when people are close, you kind of take that for granted, right? Like you don't see them, and now I see them more than when they did live in Atlanta, which is crazy. But I just felt a lot of regret. Like I felt like, oh my God, I was a bad daughter. I was a bad sister. I was a bad aunt, that I didn't spend as much time with them as I should have while they were here.
You were. No.
And I felt very lonely. I felt like, oh my God, slowly my family is getting smaller and smaller in a way, even though y'all are still here, but not here, physically in the same zip code, if you will. And that was a very tough time for me. I was crying a lot. I felt like mentally I was just in a bad place. And I would call my other sister a lot and just cry with her over the phone, because I didn't want to call you and stress you out and make you feel some sort of way. Yeah. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And I know me and Mama were very emotional every time I would talk to her. Like I would end up crying and losing it, and it would be the same for her. But I think that just takes time, right? Like
and I think I definitely felt that. Even being away, I would say maybe the first 4 weeks were very tough, right?
Yeah.
And it was a very emotional process, right? And that's when your self-doubt is at its peak. Yes. Like, oh crap, what did I actually do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, here's the moving truck. Here's all the stuff. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I could feel that. I could feel the gloom, the sadness. And I also felt like blame, right? Like no one actually blamed me, but just internally I felt like, God, everyone's blaming me for disrupting the norm.
Yeah.
Right? This was our norm. So those were very tough periods in my life, and thankfully I had really good people around me to bring me out of that, depressive state, right? And accept the change and, plant new seeds,
Right.
if you will. And I think it was really tough, right? Because just like you were the baby for me, Ari was like the baby for you.
Exactly.
So I think all of us, quietly in our own ways, whether it was me crying in the shower or
Yeah.
getting in the car just to drive and cry, all of us had our own ways of coping. Yeah. And I just felt so bad
And
for
I
making everyone go through that.
and I do remember like feeling that, oh my God, I feel like she's feeling guilty. And I did feel really bad because I know you did say nobody actually blamed you, but I do remember that maybe once or twice I did call you and I was the one to blame you. I did actually say the words, why are you doing this? Why are you taking Mama and Arya away? Like, they're going to be so far. Like, why are you leaving? And I was confused. I didn't understand. And I was just as confused as the rest of your friends and the rest of our family. But it took me a while to come to a place and accept that she needs to do this for her. And at the end of the day, it ended up being the best for Arya and for my mom. Like, they're so happy there.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Yeah, shukr. But it was definitely hard.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? Any major drastic decision, like I said, using the example of even a job switch, right? You always question in the beginning, was this the right move? Am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind? And you also have this like, oh God, if it is the wrong decision, everyone's going to blame me. Everyone's going to be like, pagalti, right?
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking? Like, see, we told you. But it was a risk I had to take.
Yeah.
And the great thing is that the people that mattered, right, were the ones that said, hey, guess what? You went out on a limb, you followed through, you took this step, fine. You did it. Good. You listened to your heart and the inner voice and you did it. If things don't work out, what's the worst, right? You pack up, you live it out for however long you wanted to. Pack up, come back.
Yeah.
It's
but you
not
had to
like
see it through.
I had to see it through, right? And like I said earlier, is when I didn't see the clear signs, when my inner voice was telling me something previously, I knew the repercussions of that, and I never wanted to have that in my life again.
Yeah.
To where it's like, oh, that voice was so loud. It was telling me what to do and I didn't follow through. I should have done it. Yeah.
Okay, so that was some heavy stuff. I feel like it took me right back there and I'm like reliving all the moments all over again in my mind, and now I miss them all over again. And it's crazy because the first time that I visited them in Dallas, when I surprised them, if you haven't seen that vlog, I feel like everyone's seen it, but if you haven't seen that vlog, when I was leaving, again, I had like that pit in my stomach when I was leaving. And then when I came back, for the first 3 days after I got back, I was so sad. And I just wanted to go back. Like, I wanted to go back to Dallas. And I was telling Amin, like, oh my God, I miss them so much. Like, I'm glad I'm here with you, don't get me wrong, but like, I just wish I could go back. And I remember my mom was so emotional when she was saying bye to me at the airport.
Yeah.
So again, there are like little glimpses and moments where you feel that sadness and you become selfish. And I know I definitely did, where I was like, oh God, like, why do they have to live in a different state?
But I'll ask you this. After having visited and then again coming back and having visited with Amin also, what was your takeaway and how did you feel seeing us at that time?
I will tell you, honestly, as soon as I stepped into your home in Dallas, which truly does not feel like a house, it feels like a home, I was hit with a wave of just peace. And I felt like a weird something indescribable. I can't even describe it or put it into words. I felt this weird calmness to me. Even though I don't live there, I felt like, wow, this feels like home. And I think, again, it goes back to you, it goes back to Arya, and it goes back to Mama. Y'all's energies and y'all's overall personas just shifted.
Has, right?
It has. And there's such a calm to all of you and this peaceful aura to all of you that I just cannot describe. And it's crazy how just moving to a different place will do that to somebody.
Yeah.
And that just, again, solidified and reconfirmed that, wow, this is what they needed. And I thought only I felt that way. Like, I thought I was just being like, oh yeah, like I'm happy for them. So yeah, I feel like this weird peace in this house. But then when Amin visited, he also told me, not only to them, but he told me in private also, that you were right. Like there's this calmness and this peacefulness in the house and in the city. And when I'm hanging out with them, it's just like different people. Like so much more positive. Not that you guys were like negative or something to begin with, but you can tell that, wow, they are just content. Yeah. Is maybe the right word.
And I'm not going to say that things have not been difficult, right? Like I'm going through so many skin issues and hair issues. Yeah. All of us are, right? Like the hard water in Dallas is like sucking the life out of
me.
Heat. Yeah, the heat is intense, right? Like for us, like mashallah, we've had good skin and we haven't had to deal with this, and now it's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm going through puberty. Like, what is this?
And that can take a toll on you mentally and your confidence.
It 100% does. So it's not to say that everything has been rosy. All of us, the energy has been like recharged, and there's something. I can't explain it, but there is something.
There is something.
It's just nice.
Yeah. Sometimes, it feels nice. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel myself getting a little bit emotional, so I'm going to switch gears. What advice would you want to give to somebody who, regardless of what they're going through in life, regardless of if it's divorce, if it's marriage, a relationship, a job, whatever, or if they are just living their best life and they want to pick up and discover a new city and call that home, what would your advice be?
Gosh, where do I start? I would say, first of all, go out and visit the place. Okay, let's talk about logistics physically, right? So before we made the decision to move, last December during Ari's winter break, we actually spent the entire winter break in Dallas. And for me, it was like, oh my God, we could be on vacation or this and that. I spent so much money on like just Airbnbs and whatever. Yeah. Take a 2-3 week trip out there, and live your life as if you truly were going to be living there. I would say mentally, accept the fact that there will be challenges. It won't be easy. Whether the moving truck trashes all of your furniture,
oh goodness,
or takes away your freaking computer monitors, all facts. Be prepared for those hiccups. Things are not going to be hunky-dory. Things will fall apart. You will fall apart. And be okay with that. So mentally prepare yourself that not every day will go according to plan. And the last thing I would say is take that risk, right?
Just do it.
Going back to it, just do it. And if things don't work out, they don't work out. At least you tried. Last year when I, before even the October process and the school process or whatever, I vocalized it to you, to Api. I just want to move. I just want to move. And everyone, especially you, would be like, yeah, okay.
Literally till the last second, till the day y'all were staying in a hotel room, till that day when I had to say goodbye, I'm telling you guys, that's literally when it hit me that, oh, crap. She was not lying. She's actually doing this.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like vocalize what's inside. Be honest to yourself. Vocalizing allows you to set certain things in motion. The result of it does not have to necessarily be what you thought it was going to be, but it could perhaps set something in motion, which later on in life can come back
it's almost
to you.
like manifesting it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's beautiful. I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to my sister. I mean, she has always been so well-spoken, and I definitely wanted to share her journey, and you're currently going through your journey, right?
It never ends.
It never ends. It's a constant, continuous journey, and all I want to say is, if I haven't already said it enough, is that I do feel like you are a much happier person overall. And I hope you only go up from here. And it is only up from here. And like you said, I'm vocalizing that now because it's all about manifestations, right?
Absolutely.
And however much I do miss you, and I miss Arya more, obviously, and I miss my mom, I will say that, and I think you could agree, this move has brought us a lot closer.
Yes.
And we are able to see, weirdly, eye to eye on a lot more things than before.
I think the distance is there, but we're definitely more closer. Right?
Yes.
I think distance
makes the heart grow fonder.
Exactly.
And in this case, it definitely has.
Yeah.
And I do miss them, and I constantly miss them every single day, and I do wish they were closer, but hey, it's just a plane ride away.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where Dallas takes you.
It's nice because I actually get to see Sarah excited to see me.
Yeah, before, like, I would just,
like, hey.
I would just come through the house in, like, like home clothes and be like, what's up? Like, it's nothing new. But now it's like, oh my God, I get to see my sister, And I feel like this also happened for a reason. So she was actually supposed to fly out tonight, but my mom ended up calling when I was literally a minute away from dropping her to the airport, saying, Abhi mat aana, abhi weather bahut kharab hai, ye wo. And I immediately made a U-turn, and she's like, no, drop me.
I'm like literally pleading with her, drop me. I just want to get back home. I want to get back home. Not that I don't love you and love spending time with Amina and Sarah have been great this weekend.
But you just want to be with Arya.
But I wanted to be with Arya. I wanted to be back home. I wanted to go vote tomorrow.
Oh, crap, you can't
know what
vote.
I'm gonna do.
Dang it.
We'll figure it out. But, it was meant to be, I guess.
Meant to be.
It was written.
And if you would have left, we wouldn't have had this wonderful sesh.
Yes.
And we probably wouldn't have had you on Speakeasy with Sarah.
But I don't know. I guess your ratings and your comments will
determine. They're going to love you. Please share this episode. Leave some really nice comments for my beautiful sister, Sana. Okay. And I hope to have you back again on my podcast. Maybe we could talk about something a little bit lighter, or
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw. She's getting emotional. I love you so much.
Oh, I love you
and,
too.
I know maybe we don't have as much fun as I have with my friends, but you are my best friend.
Excuse me? I think you have a lot more fun.
I do have a lot more fun with you. I was in the first grade, and my teacher, Mr. Hartsfield, he wanted us to write a paper about share who your role model is and why. And I specifically remember I wrote, when I grow up, I want to be just like my sister, Sana. I want to be just like my appa. And I think that still stands. Even though I am a full-grown woman, when I grow up, I do want to be like you.
You're so sweet.
And
when I glam up, I want to be
when I
like
glam
you.
up. And you are such a role model for so many people, young, old, middle-aged, people watching, people listening right now. And I've always seen you just go for it, and like you said, just do it. And you've never let anything stop you, even though you may have had hesitations and doubts in your mind. You've always been the go-getter, the goal-getter, and I think you will continue to do exactly that. So just continue to do you, and never let anybody tell you otherwise.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, you know what you remind me of? Remember in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, where Pooh is rating the men? And she's like, 4. And then she's like, 0.
Minus. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope the audience got an unfiltered version of me. This was a little difficult. I wasn't expecting all of this, but
I'm glad you opened up.
I tried. Yeah.
You kept it real. All right, but with that, we will end it tonight. We're going to go upstairs for some dinner with Amin, and we will see you on the next episode of Speakeasy with Sarah. Until next time, I like to end it with sayonara.
Oh, okay.
So until next time,
Until next time.
sayonara.
Sayonara.